Welcome to my channel, Easy English Daily. Today we will talk about Albert Einstein's life and career. Imagine a little boy sitting quietly in the corner of a room. He's not talking. He's not playing. He's just watching, thinking, wondering. Now imagine adults around him whispering, "Why doesn't he talk? Is something wrong with him? Will he ever be normal?" That little boy's name was Albert Einstein. He didn't speak full sentences until he was almost 3. His teachers said he was slow. One even told him, "You will never amount to anything." The world saw a problem, but Albert was simply thinking in a different way. He saw what others missed. He asked questions no one else dared to ask. Questions like, what if I could ride a beam of light? What is time? What is space? And years later, those very questions would change the universe. Albert Einstein would go on to write the most famous equation in history, E equals mc2. He would become one of the greatest minds the world has ever known. But not because he was born a genius, because he never gave up his curiosity, because he turned every doubt into discovery. This video is not just about a scientist. It's about a boy who was misunderstood, a young man who faced rejection, a dreamer who turned failure into fuel. It's about you. Yes, you. Because maybe you've been told you're not smart enough. Maybe you've failed. Maybe you feel stuck. Einstein's story is here to remind you, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to fit in. You just have to keep asking, keep learning, and never stop wondering. As we follow his journey, from a quiet child to a rebel student, from a jobless graduate to a global icon, we'll learn not only about science, but about strength. Not only about ideas, but about identity. So grab your notebook, open your heart, and get ready to see yourself in a whole new light. This isn't just a story about Einstein. This is a story about what's possible when you believe in your mind and follow your curiosity. Let's begin. The quiet boy who asked big questions. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in a small town called Ulm, in Germany. When he was born, his head was unusually large. His family even joked that he might not grow up to be normal. No one could have guessed that this strange little boy would one day change the world. As a child, Albert was quiet, very quiet. He didn't speak full sentences until he was almost 3 years old. His parents were worried. Other children his age were talking, laughing, asking questions. Albert just listened and thought. His family called him the quiet one. But Albert wasn't silent because he was slow. He was silent because he was always thinking. He would sit for hours staring at nature, watching the sky, listening to music, asking himself questions that no one else thought to ask. Everything changed when he was 5 years old. One day, his father gave him a simple compass. Albert held it in his hand and turned it around. No matter how he moved, the needle always pointed north. How? He wondered. What force makes the needle move? That little compass awakened something deep inside him. For the first time, he realized there were invisible forces in the world. Forces we cannot see, but that are very real. That moment left a lasting impression. He would later say, "That experience made a deep and lasting impression on me." When Albert started school, things didn't go well. He didn't like the way teachers taught. Schools at that time were strict. Students were expected to sit still, memorize facts, and never ask questions. But Albert had too many questions. His teachers got frustrated. One even told him, "You are a disgrace. You will never be successful." Those words hurt. But Albert didn't give up. He wasn't interested in memorizing facts. He wanted to understand why things worked. He wanted to explore how the world fit together. There was one subject Albert loved more than anything else: mathematics. He called it the language of the universe. For him, math was like a puzzle. Every problem was a mystery waiting to be solved. Outside of school, Albert found joy in music. His mother noticed this and taught him how to play the violin. At first, he didn't enjoy it. But over time, music became a way for him to relax and clear his mind. His uncle Jacob also helped guide his thinking. Jacob loved math and showed Albert how fun it could be. He once said to him, "Math is like a treasure hunt. Every problem is a clue that leads to the solution." Albert was different from other children. While others played games, he read books. He dreamed of stars, planets, and light beams. He often imagined himself riding a beam of light across the sky. That one question, what would it be like to ride a beam of light, stayed with him for years. It became the seed of a lifelong journey, a journey to understand the nature of light, time, and space. When Albert was 15, life became difficult. His father's business failed and the family moved to Italy. Albert stayed behind in Germany to finish school, but he was lonely. He missed his family. He felt trapped in a system that didn't value curiosity. So, he made a bold choice. He left school without finishing. Many thought he had thrown his future away, but Albert believed that learning was more important than rules. He started studying on his own. Books became his teachers. Ideas became his classroom. At 16, he wrote his first scientific paper. It wasn't perfect, but it showed his potential. He then applied to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich, but he failed the entrance exam. Not in science, but in other subjects like French and history. Did he give up? No. He studied harder, improved his weak areas, and tried again. Because even then, he believed curiosity and perseverance are more powerful than talent alone. Struggles, failures, and the patent office. After retaking the entrance exam, Albert Einstein was finally accepted to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich. He was 17 years old and full of hope. But college wasn't easy for him. Albert was brilliant in math and physics, but he didn't care much for other subjects. He often skipped classes and studied on his own. He wanted to follow his curiosity, not the textbook. His professors didn't understand him. Some thought he was lazy. Others thought he was disrespectful because he didn't follow their methods. One professor even said, "You are a smart boy, Einstein, but you lack discipline." Despite the criticism, Albert continued to chase the big questions. What is light? How does time work? Why does gravity exist? These weren't just homework questions to him. They were mysteries he was born to solve. During his time at school, Albert met a brilliant classmate named Mileva Marek. She was the only woman in his physics class. Like Albert, she was curious, passionate, and determined. They became close friends, and later, partners in both science and life. In 1900, Albert graduated with a degree in physics. He was excited to start his career as a scientist. But life had other plans. No university wanted to hire him. He sent applications to many professors, hoping to become a teacher or researcher. But they all rejected him. Why? Some said he lacked social skills. Others just didn't see his potential. It was a painful time. Imagine working so hard only to hear no again and again. Albert felt lost. He had no job, no money, and no support from his former teachers. But he didn't give up. He took small jobs to survive. He tutored children. He helped with math problems. He did whatever he could. In 1902, after 2 difficult years, Albert found a job at the Swiss Patent Office in the city of Bern. It wasn't a science job. He wasn't teaching or doing research. He was just reviewing patent applications. To others, this job might have felt like a failure. But to Albert, it was a blessing. The job paid the bills. And most importantly, it gave him time to think. He called the patent office his thinking lab. Every day, after work, he would write ideas on scraps of paper. He thought about light, time, energy, and space. He wasn't part of a big university. He had no lab, no assistants, just a pen, paper, and a mind full of questions. People around him didn't understand. Some told him to stop dreaming and focus on his job. But Albert once said, "I would rather struggle for my passion than live comfortably without purpose." In 1903, Albert married Mileva. They had their first son, Hans Albert. They lived in a small apartment and didn't have much money. But they had hope, and they had each other. Albert spent his days working as a clerk and his nights working as a scientist. Then came the year that changed everything. 1905. Albert was 26 years old. In that single year, he published 4 scientific papers that would change the world. One paper explained how light behaves like particles, a discovery that later won him the Nobel Prize. Another described Brownian motion, proving that atoms exist. A third introduced the special theory of relativity, showing that time and space are connected. And finally, he revealed the famous equation, E = mc2. 4 papers, 1 year. From a man working in a quiet office. It was a miracle year, annus mirabilis, as scientists now call it. Albert Einstein had arrived, but he didn't do it from a lab or from a university. He did it from the shadows, from struggle, from rejection, and most of all, from belief in himself. Ideas that shook the universe. In 1905, Albert Einstein was a 26-year-old clerk at the Swiss Patent Office. He had no university job, no laboratory, and no team of scientists. He worked in a quiet office during the day and scribbled his ideas at night. But what he did that year would shake the foundations of physics forever. Einstein published 4 scientific papers in just 1 year. Each one answered a deep question about the universe. Each one was revolutionary. The first paper was about light. Most scientists believed light behaved like a wave, but Einstein suggested something bold, that light could also act like tiny particles called photons. This idea explained a strange effect. When light hits a metal surface, it can knock out electrons. Einstein's theory made sense of this. It became known as the photoelectric effect. Years later, this discovery won him the Nobel Prize in Physics. His second paper tackled Brownian motion. This is the random movement of tiny particles in water. People had seen it but didn't understand why it happened. Einstein showed that this motion was caused by invisible atoms bumping into each other. It was one of the first real proofs that atoms actually exist. His third paper was his most famous, the special theory of relativity. Before Einstein, people thought time and space were absolute, unchanging, and separate. But Einstein showed that time and space are connected, that they can stretch, shrink, and even bend depending on speed. He proposed that nothing in the universe can travel faster than light, and that the laws of physics are the same for everyone, no matter how fast they are moving, as long as they're not accelerating. This led to a surprising conclusion. Time is not fixed. It can move slower or faster depending on how you move. It was a shocking idea, hard to believe, but it was backed by math, and it would later be proven by experiments. Finally, in his fourth paper, Einstein introduced a simple but powerful equation: E equal mc2. This means that energy and mass are two sides of the same coin. They are connected. A small amount of mass can turn into a huge amount of energy. This idea would later help explain how the sun shines. And sadly, it would also play a role in creating atomic bombs. In one single year, Albert Einstein, working alone, reshaped the way we understand reality. He didn't just add to science, he rewrote the rules. Scientists around the world were stunned. Who was this unknown clerk from Switzerland? How could one man change so much? But Einstein didn't care about fame. He cared about truth. He once said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing." His ideas didn't stop in 1905. They were just the beginning. Einstein would go on to explore even deeper questions. What is gravity? How does space bend? What happens inside black holes? But it all began in that one year, that miracle year, when a curious mind dared to ask the impossible. And by asking, he changed everything. Legacy of a genius. Lessons for life. As Albert Einstein's fame grew, so did the world's respect for his ideas. But Einstein never acted like a celebrity. He didn't wear fancy clothes or care about awards. He lived simply, stayed curious, and focused on one thing: understanding the universe. Einstein once said, "I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious." Even after becoming one of the most famous scientists in history, he still saw himself as a student. He believed that questions were more important than answers, and that wonder was more valuable than knowledge. Throughout his life, Einstein stood up for what he believed in. When World War I broke out, he refused to support the war. He spoke out for peace, even when others attacked him for it. Later, when Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany, Einstein, who was Jewish, was in great danger. He left Germany and moved to the United States. He never returned. In America, he continued his work and became a citizen. But he also used his voice to fight for justice. He spoke out against racism. He supported civil rights. He believed that science should serve humanity, not harm it. During World War II, Einstein was asked to help develop the atomic bomb. Although he didn't work directly on the project, his famous equation, E equals mc2, was the foundation of nuclear energy. When the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Einstein was heartbroken. He had hoped science would bring peace, not destruction. After the war, he spent the rest of his life promoting nuclear disarmament. He warned the world about the dangers of power without compassion, and he reminded people that with great knowledge comes great responsibility. Einstein lived a simple life. He didn't drive a car. He didn't wear socks. He enjoyed walking, sailing, and playing the violin. Even when he was old, he would smile and say, "I still have so much to learn." Until his last days, Einstein worked on one final theory, trying to unify all the forces of nature. He never finished it, but he kept trying. because he believed the journey was just as important as the destination. On April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein passed away at the age of 76. His last words were spoken in German, but the nurse by his side didn't understand them. And yet, Einstein's real message was not in his final words. It was in his life. A life that showed us that failure doesn't define you, that questions are more powerful than answers, that science and compassion can work together. Einstein's legacy is not just in textbooks.